Good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible. Can you hear me? Is the sound clear? All right. Okay. So, if you all remember from the last session, we had discussed about lesson plans, and one of the lesson plans came up for an assembly, and that is how we decided that in one of the next sessions we'll be taking up assemblies as the topic, and so we are here today for assemblies. So, just a quick input from everyone. What do you understand by assemblies from your school days, from your current school, whatever you remember? You can put it in the chat box, or you can just unmute yourself and voice it out. So, what do you remember about assemblies in your school when you were in school, and what do you remember, or what is your idea of assemblies now?
So, good morning. What I remember is that every day we used to be sharp at 7:30 or 8 a.m. in our school, and then after that, there is a bell ringing, either a metallic one or either an electronic one, and we all get into lines, proper lines, standard wise, height wise, maintaining one hand distance. Your shoes should be neat, clean, polished. Then there comes a principal greeting everyone. Then there is a batch of students who were allotted responsibilities for conducting assembly for that particular day with the greetings and thought of the day and good morning and all that news, if news reading and all these things together. If any special information or message by teachers or any such thing by principals of school, all these things, that much I remember that I have been through.
Okay. So that is quite a bit. And are you in a school currently? Are you teaching in a school?
Yes, currently, as a profession, I'm a dentist. So I am in current my internship year, but due to this corona and lockdown, my internship is not continued. So currently, I've joined one school, which is Wisdom International School, because I didn't want to sit idle. So now I'm a teacher there, a science teacher.
Hmm. Okay. And what is your idea of assemblies now? Is it the same, or has it changed?
Mm. मतलब, if you are asking about the difference between online or offline, or you want to ask something which is मतलब, currently school is following before lockdown.
If you think about your idea of assemblies now, like considering the online, considering your time with the school, and versus whatever
Mhm.
you remember from your own school when you were in school, when you were studying.
Yes. Okay. So one thing that I would like to, I can't say change, but I can say improve is that of course on time is very good. We should be on time for anything, whatever we are doing. But थोड़ा early, मतलब कि we should be little. relaxed, not in attention position like we are army or something. कि बच्चा लोग should not get upset about listening assembly. Oh, assembly है, what is this यार? थोड़ा interactive session in which बच्चा, every बच्चा can show something, or every बच्चा can feel normal. He or she should not feel like he is in a NCC parade. Now if you are moving your shoulder also, then what are you doing, child? Be in a proper line. I don't want these all things to be done with the children now. I want it to be a interactive session, not only listening part. So that if someone is the speaker, if he or she is saying, of course, after listening to him or her, the student who are listening should also get the chance to keep their point or anything. Or it should be not only the मतलब old type की हाँ speaking. No, एक्टिविटीज भी थोड़ी होनी चाहिए. या फिर अकॉर्डिंग टू जो 7:30 and 8 आदमी सोचता है इज अ वेरी नाइस टाइम, इट्स गुड मॉर्निंग, लेट्स स्टार्ट देन. तो लेकिन उसको क्या होता है ना, बच्चे आर नॉट इन दैट एक्टिव मोड, दे आर नॉट समटाइम लिसनिंग, दे आर जस्ट ट्राइंग टू टीच देयर अदर पार्टनर्स एंड गेटिंग डेविएटेड. सो व्हाट आई थिंक कि असेंबली का, व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ असेंबली की पर्पस ये होती है कि टुगेदर अ कॉमन डिस्कशन कैन बी डन, टुगेदर वी कैन सी व्हाट progress or what requirements are there. तो आप ऐसे best time पे करो when everyone is active with their brain also, and they can reply and they can give some input into your contribution also. So that what I think कि थोड़ा बहुत हम लोग चेंज कर सकते हैं. बस मैं 7:30 8 AM वाला नहीं चाहती कि बच्चे, I have felt even in the winters we used to be like कपा रहे ठंड से, but we have to attend assembly, or else if you will be late you have to stand for this hours or this minute, or you have to write sorry ma'am this and that. So all these things should change now. What this is my opinion.
Thank you for sharing this. Anyone else would like to contribute to this? Okay, so there is one input in the chat that says, unless we had special assemblies, that is a skit or something, my school assemblies were mostly a waste of time. Just to line up and sing one anthem or one announcement isn't a good enough reason to have such a logical exercise. Acha, logistical exercise. Okay. Okay. So yes, that is what happens in most of the schools, and I was fortunate enough to see both sides. I was fortunate enough to be a part of those assemblies where we just had to stand in line, and there were a group of 5 to 6 people who would conduct the assembly from some corner of the school with a microphone, and everybody else would hear it over the speaker. Um, and in another school, I observed that the assemblies were they were very open. There would be different kinds of assemblies. There would be dialogues. There would be performances. Um, there would be discussions. There would be singing assemblies, and in all of them, one common thing was that everybody was treated as a person, not as a child, not as a teacher, not as a principal, management, anything like that. Everybody was treated as a person. Um, so, as it was rightly pointed out, that children mostly who are not in routine tend to come in, and or rather they have their own routine, and when they come into the assembly hall or when they come for the assembly, they are executing that routine, and whoever is not aligned with the school's routine gets fired, gets some kind of a punishment or some kind of a correction therapy, so to speak. So I wanted to share a few ideas of what assemblies can be. So, as it was shared, that again, coming from us when we were discussing, it was shared that assemblies should be more interactive and they should be more involving. So, how can we bring about that? So, if you want to make assemblies more interactive, more involving, what can we do?
for making assemblies interactive or two-way communication. First of all, we should take opinion from children also, student also, ki, acha, what they want to include in assemblies, what activities they want to have during this assembly. And from that, we can do a survey, or we can do some sort of discussion among the teachers and school head ki yes, these all things should be included, so that ki student also feel ki ha, they are part of assemblies, not just ki ha bas hum log ko khade rehna है and we have to listen. So we should also try to get a poll, POLL, poll type की thing, so that कि हाँ we can understand कि yes, these are the requirements to be seen, क्योंकि बच्चे लोग के लिए assembly is for what, बच्चों के लिए ना, it is not for us. We are not there to gain something. हमें बच्चों को teach करना है, बच्चों को we have to make that mind कि हाँ you have to think like this, you can present yourself like this. तो बच्चों से ये आनी चाहिए कि what they want in that assembly.
Okay, that is one point. Anything else? Would anyone else like to contribute to that? Okay, so let's try to reflect that on that a little bit. Can assemblies be like, what is the meaning of the word assembly? If you forget about the boxes that schools have put us in with regards to the term, with regards to the word, then what does assembly sound like to you?
It sounds like it has come from the word assemble, to assemble something.
Right. So if we assemble, and if that is, if we come together, um, how can we be together if we are at different levels of teachers and students and principal and so on? So then,
So you, yes, so you meant to say that ki we should group मतलब कि level of student wise, मतलब कि if this is standard, तो it's not like you 1 to 12 at one time. You want to say कि according to the students understanding, they're able to catch what we are saying or what we are doing. So according to that, we should try to take our assemblies or assemble them.
right. So this is one way to look at it. And then where do the teachers come in when you look at it from this point of view?
So what I am able to understand from your question is that you want to ask कि what is the involvement of teacher in this, na? That is what you are trying to ask. Yes. So involvement of teacher, of course, we can give मतलब कि it's not like one standard to one standard की assembly. It should not be like that. Of course, 1, 2, 3, you can group them as together, and then you can give an in charge to not to a particular teacher. You can rotate that responsibility in teachers also, so that the others ideas should also pop out with the for application of whatever ideas they want to do during this assembly. That what I think it would be better to.
Yes, so that is what I was getting at, and I thought it would be better if it comes from us as a group. So this is essentially what an assembly would look like. So it is not a one-way thing. It is a discussion between people where there are no level differences between children and teachers. But as you rightly pointed out, there has to be some segregation based on maybe age and understanding and maturity. So for that, how do we segregate? Um, would it be very logical to segregate them class wise, or uh, some other way should be figured out? And by class wise, I mean like single grades. Like first standard will have their own assembly, second standard will have their own assembly, or can we figure out some other way? Again, these questions are open to all, so please feel free to contribute vocally or through the chat box. Another way of looking at this question would be, what do you see as the advantages of having assemblies class wise? And what do you see as the advantages of pros and cons for both, for grade wise and for group wise, and then for the entire school together?
So the pros and cons are कि for assembly to be held for school at one time. So one is the major is कि एक बार में responsibility is over. भले the student are getting it or not, your responsibility over. You are now free. मतलब you will be sharing, of course, you will be sharing information, which maybe maybe the student of lower grades won't be able to understand. ठीक है? And if you are trying to make it like okay ये भी समझ लें and the higher classes, तो maybe it will be boring for the upper या फिर higher classes. ठीक है? This is one thing. And the next thing which you told me to class में of course the topic will be according to their understanding, so very good. But when we are doing class wise, we won't be sharing, मतलब we won't be actively sharing topics which are not for their level. So when we share something from when we share something which is above their level, so it is good कि at least they'll start thinking, oh, okay, this is also something which we should explore. So one pros, one cons for the standard, and the group wise, I think the group wise में ना अगर ग्रुप वाइज इफ यू आर सेइंग कि वी शुड बाय द लेवल ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, मतलब कि उनका इंटरेस्ट क्या है किस चीज में पर्टिकुलर, उस हिसाब से ग्रुप बनाया जाए, या फिर बाय द लेवल ऑफ मतलब कि वन स्टैंडर्ड इज द लोअर ग्रेड एंड द अदर इज लिटिल अपर ग्रेड, अगर उस हिसाब से ग्रुप बनाया जाए तो दोनों में ही फायदा है कि दे कैन डू द टीम वर्क टुगेदर, सो दैट कि छोटे बच्चों को वी टीचर्स वोंट हैव टू बी behind them. The upper या फिर the senior classes can go behind them and teach them and try to explain it to them what they have to do. And of course, so the upper grade won't be in loss ki yeah they have to matlab listen to something which is not of their up to the level. They will be learning new thing by doing group work and all these things. That's what I think.
Right. So thank you for sharing that, because that is exactly what I wanted to raise in this session. So as I said, this is an idea, like Sundays with Nivam. This entire series is an idea that has been going on since quite some time, and I thought this would be a good collection of videos for anyone to refer to later, and have some kind of a reflection on how a few systems in schools can be changed. So from that perspective, it is very important to understand how everyone thinks, and what everyone is able to see, and where do they feel their responsibility in changing things, or at least bringing things to the notice for a change. So once again, thank you for pointing that out. Um, so, as you very rightly said, when you have a mixed age group, or a group where the definition is not age, or some external and hard imposed figure. So, age is something that you don't necessarily feel. Age is something that you are, matlab, it's like a barcode that is stuck on you, that you were born according to this time scale. The time scale is also designed by us as human beings, and according to this time scale, you were born on this date. So according to that date, we'll put you in this box or in this class. So it is not necessarily something that children can relate to, which is why we run into the complications that you stated. And quite a few times what happens, a major drawback of classifying people according to their age, not age groups, again, just one single figure. So if you're 6 years old, then you have to be in a certain class. So if you classify people according to age, um, children, they themselves learn to limit themselves. It's the first instance when we teach them that you choose what is not your responsibility. But as we see around us today, since everything affects us as humanity, as a species, and as a part of this world, um, nothing is outside our realm of responsibility. Everything is our responsibility. Everything that we do affects the world. Everything that we don't do also affects the world. So this is the first instance if we classify them in according to classes and according to age. This is the first instance we teach them that if you are so many years old, then it's okay if you don't understand this. It's okay if you don't do anything about this problem, and this is imposed by us. So I'm just elaborating what you have said in terms of perspective, from a child's perspective. And then when it comes to the whole school, yes, it is very efficient, as it is stated in the chat also, that the entire school can be just segregated age wise, and then we can have a school assembly together, and it gets over at once. Um, but at the same time, it can be a form of a community development kind of a thing if it is done occasionally. So as ma'am has pointed out, once in a while have an entire school assembly, so that is also necessary sometimes. But yes, assemblies are a huge learning opportunity. We will also discuss on what can be taken in the assembly, but it is very important to understand this, that understand the dynamics of these three opportunities. One is if you group them according to mixed age groups. The other is if you group them according to their class, and the third is if you take an assembly all together. So the pros and cons of all of them. Mixed age group, sometimes it can be very impractical for certain schools, but as we were discussing earlier, teachers can be appointed, and there can be like a rolling kind of a system where certain teachers are interacting with a certain group, and then you switch or you rotate. So, like a typical scenario of most schools, you have those red house, green house, blue house, yellow house. So, if you have mixed age groups of say fourth to eighth for yellow house, so fourth to eighth will fourth to eighth is already four classes: fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, five classes. So with five classes, if you can have four groups, so automatically your efforts are reduced a little bit. And if your efforts are reduced a little bit, then you have more teachers available. And if you have more teachers available, then the children get that rainbow of perspectives, because they get that rainbow of perspectives because of the children from fourth till eighth. Um, and secondly also because of the teachers that are being rotated. And so this is about the groups, like who can have an assembly together, or how can we make effective assemblies practical in our schools. So these two are very different terms. Having an effective assembly sometimes is considered impractical, because of which we have those assemblies where the entire school stands together, and there is no discussion. It's just a one-way thing. So, yeah, this is about who can have an assembly together. Now, different forms of assemblies. So, what can we do during the assemblies? if we are dealing with these group dynamics, if we have a few days where we have group assemblies, if we have a few days where we have class assemblies, and we have maybe one day where the entire school has an assembly together. So, in this situation, what can be discussed where, or what can be done during the assemblies?
Yes, sir. So the one in which the whole school is present, if we can use that particular thing for any information giving related to the school or related to your individual class, it can be given at once. It is not required like कि हाँ this child will not understand or that child. It is the मतलब message to everyone, common to all. In case of any, if you are in festive mood or in case of any science fest or something in which you have to give one common instructions to all, that can be done. And one more thing we can do ki if any kind of visual or nukkad natak you say or you skit play, to skit play can be understood by everyone. It is because that is visual, you have to you are seeing, and it is not written in a book or language kind of thing ki jo it will be difficult for any child not to understand. It will be good कि हाँ अलग अलग grades के student will be understanding and taking it in a different manner. That is human brain and we all do that thing. But at the end of that play, it can be explained to all कि yeah this was this or this was, or we can call the students from each grade to share their experience कि yeah what have you understand from this play or this skit. So visual thing is not a boundary according to me for age के लिए कि हाँ only the bacha can see this one in for school. I'm saying for school the only students can see this ki हाँ only this student or this grade student will be able to understand this much and this will not be understood. So one barrier should be removed कि हाँ it is open to all, everyone can see whatever they are understanding they can share, or if any new ideas they want to put कि हाँ ऐसे ऐसे या फिर we teacher as a at the end of the assembly we can मतलब accumulate all the points and we can say at once so that everyone is clear. और फिर group वाले में it should be little specific to their requirement कि what they need. It should not like कि कुछ भी बोले जा रहे हैं like whole assembly school वाली. So requirement का means यहाँ पे क्या what I mean to say is कि you can get oriented towards the academic side also, and you can be little more taking the fun part and academic part together and trying to give them responsibilities and they can present, and you can also we as a teacher can also present if you want to. These two things I think can be of good use if we are trying to do assembly in the whole school wala and the group wala.
Hmm. Okay. So, anyone else would like to add to that? Okay, so a few additional things just to expand that horizon. A few additional things that we do in our school and seems to be working very well because it gets them thinking, it gets them discussing things that normally they wouldn't, um, or normally they ignore because they don't get that stimulus. People normally don't consider them mature enough to be able to discuss on these topics. So, a few things that we do have in our assemblies is on certain days we go for a walk. So, we have the system where the children are segregated from first to third as one group and fourth to fourth onwards as another group. But obviously, for us, it makes more sense because we keep our strengths low, the number per class low. For larger schools, as I mentioned, we can have it in two groupings. Like we can group 4 to 8 as one, and then again subdivide them into houses or however you divide them. In this way, we can have manageable groups of children where everyone has a voice. including the teacher, as a part of the group, not as someone who is teaching the group. So, a few examples of assemblies that we take. So, one example is as I've mentioned before, we follow integral education. So, integral education is when you look at education as a whole, you don't segregate it between subjects, you don't segregate it between ages. We don't have those divisions that this child will not understand this child is um, incapable of this particular kind of intellect. We don't divide between different forms of intellect. So all the things that we hear, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, so everyone has a certain kind of intelligence. And if a child is not responding, then it becomes our responsibility to observe the child and figure out the what are the inclinations and the tendencies of a child. Now, in a school setup where you are dealing with multiple people, um, quite often it happens that it is not very practical to keep observing a child for a very long time, because then you miss out on the development and the growth that the other children are having. So we need to be observing them spontaneously, and we need to be observing them naturally as and when it is possible. One good way, one positive and progressive way to bring about this observation and see the growth of this diverse group of children is this integral education assembly. Because in these assemblies we pick up a topic which sounds a bit like project method, but then you will understand the difference as I elaborate. So we pick up a project topic, and it it's a very general topic that they see and observe almost on a daily basis. So one year we picked up the topic of bread, one year we picked up the topic of cloth. um, Last year we picked up the topic of community, or yeah, community. So through community we explored villages, we explored um, tribals, and so on. So every year we pick up one wide topic like that, and then we explore all the different avenues in all the different ways. So we explore them from a technological point of view, we explore them from a scientific point of view, a mathematical point of view, um, emotional, sociological, cultural point of view. And this is done through various exercises where they have to do a lot of introspection. There are also physical exercises where children who may be capable may not understand how to introspect can do it at a physical level and then relate to that mechanics, relate that system to how to introspect within, like, themselves. So for example, if like one example of this is, if you want a child to learn how to introspect, and you're not very sure whether the child understands what is introspection or not, we can have a little bit of a game, and all of us are playing and having fun and everything. And then we pause the game, sit down, and reflect how we are feeling. We may begin physically. What is paining? What is not paining? What is tired? What is not tired? Do you feel your heart beating inside your chest? Is it beating too strong, or is it beating too faint? Um, then gradually we move to this: what part of the game did you have most fun in? What part of the game did you feel was unfair? And so on. So, these kind of things, if we discuss, gradually we shift them from feeling their physical to feeling their emotional, and gradually we can take them to how they felt, not intellectually, mentally, so to speak. So according to their thoughts, according to their thought processes, what was going on in their head at that time. So this is how we bring introspection to to their ground, to their level. And once they develop a habit of this, once they develop this practice, then it is very easy for them to express what they are feeling exactly at that moment. If they feel angry, if they feel something is unjust, if they feel something is unfair, um, normally a child would just feel angry and maybe would try to beat somebody else. But if this is something that the child experiences, then gradually they start using their words instead of their hands and feet. So then they'll describe that I did not like this that happened to me because of such and such reason. I think that this was unfair because this is what I saw and this is what I felt. So that introspection starts happening. And when you add that to a vast topic like this, like bread or cloth or a village, so in this sense, um, you start thinking about these topics differently. Now it is no more a project where you just study the topic, it is something that you observe in society. So now a bread is not just something that you eat, it becomes something that you cultivate and manufacture. So that becomes the project part. Then it goes a bit beyond that, which is where the integral education part comes in. Is you start wondering how something as simple as bread may have shifted society, may have changed society, influenced society, or the other way around, how something as simple as bread consists of decades and millennia of history hidden inside it. So, if today we have a roti, how did that roti come to be? What did we have before this? And the entire development, and um, from that perspective, from the man at that time to us as a society today. So, this is the integral education assembly that we have. Then there are a few days where we discuss events and news. So if something unique or something bad has happened and they hear about it, children are like sponges, so they absorb everything. But they don't get anyone to talk to. So quite often it happens, even at home, even with the family. Um, Even among friends sometimes somebody discusses something that this plane crashed and so many people died. Children are sensitive and they are absorbent, so they absorb this and they are feeling something about this. But then since nobody is talking about it, so since nobody is discussing it, they lose this sensitivity or they push that sensitivity down because they feel that it's okay if we don't feel about something if we cannot see it, or if it is not something near us, or if it is something that does not relate to us directly. But um, that is not a healthy way to deal with it, right? So we need to have these opportunities where things that are happening around us need to be discussed, and there needs to be a critical analysis. So this is also a great opportunity to develop critical thinking at this point of view, this point of time, at this age, because today, if you notice, all the newspapers and all the news channels, uh, as far as I know, there is not even a single news channel or a newspaper where the news is given. Do you know of any channel or newspaper where you get the news, any events that happen as they are? So that's a problem,
I
right?
don't think so because okay.
Yeah,
No, I don't think so. Ki they are sharing news as it is. They are trying to share their perspective, and they are trying to make people also think in that way. Ki, yes, this is the right thing what we are sharing, and you should also think in that manner only. I don't think there is a news channel uh, that is totally sharing what has happened, and we should think and reflect upon it. They are just imposing what they want to make us understand.
yeah. So that is very unfair, right? We are basically being force fed information with the perspective. So this is what has happened, and this is how you should feel about it. And if that is happening with us as adults, imagine what is happening with the children. So all this communal violence and all the um, protests that are happening for, um, I'm not saying all protests, but then all the protests that are happening for things that when we think about it logically, don't make sense. So all these things, like the no mask thing that had happened, so these kind of things, um, when they are given in the news with a perspective, then it is always harmful to society, because the society is forced to choose which side they are on. And the moment you are forced to choose a side that you are on, there is conflict. Because if you are for something, you automatically become against something. So if children are learning this at this age, it's so destructive for them. So that is why we need to think about it. We need to help them to think about it critically, think about it neutrally. We need to strengthen them. We need to empower them to separate the, uh, the influence from the news, so to speak. So if there is a say news anchor who says that a very disgusting thing happened today, it's already a perspective. You're not even sharing the information yet, and you are already calling it disgusting. So how are we going to look at the piece of information that you are going to share now after the perspective? So if children are taught to separate this, what part of the news is actually news and what part of the information is actually information. So these assemblies also we have quite often where these kind of things are discussed. Then we have debates. So in debates, we have topics that we sometimes as adults may think that this is not something that children can relate to. This is not something that children can understand. So, for example, one of the topics that we took up was, would you rather be a big fish in a small pond, or would you rather be a small fish in a big pond? So it took them, I think, 2 or 3 points to figure out what we are actually talking about. So this is again fourth to eighth. So just 2 to 3 points, and they understood the impact that it can have on them as a contributing member of the society, and what impact can they have on the society. So there were a lot of points that were raised on. So it began with very ridiculous things like ridiculous for us because we look at it from that perspective, but then from their perspective it seems quite sensible. So the people who said, "Okay, would you rather be a big fish in a small pond?" Um, they would rather be a big fish in a small pond. Very rightly said that they would have control over the whole pond, and they would um, eat up all the fish, or they would be they would control everything and so on. And the people who said that they would rather be a small fish in a big pond, they said that they'll be safe from the big fish, and then the people who said that they would rather be a big fish, they said that we'll come to your pond and we'll eat you. So these kind of points were being discussed initially. Gradually, the conversation shifted to things like, but if we are a big fish in a small pond, it will be so difficult to move around. It will be so difficult, like even if we eat up the fish, so then there will be a point when there will be no fishes left, and probably it's a pond, right? So then I will die of hunger. So from there, they shifted to that perspective that just because you are a big fish doesn't necessarily mean that you have to eat the other fish. You may be a vegetarian big fish. And on the other side, those who were thinking about the small fish in big ponds, they were thinking about the growth, that they can become bigger. And ultimately, it's the same problem, right? That they will become bigger, and so on. So, yeah, this is what was going on. And yeah, so these are the kind of topics that we have for debates. Then we have walks. So for walks, just give me a second. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, sorry about that. So, yeah, then we have walks. So for walks, we just like 2 days in a week or something like that. Group goes out and they walk around the school. Whatever interests them, they try to take a deeper look at it. So if they are just walking around and they have heard their parents or their elder friends or brothers or people in the society, they keep hearing about it, they keep seeing billboards that people go to the gym. So if somebody is interested, they'll just ask the teacher whether we can go to the gym today. So they would enter the gym, they would find out everything about the gym, they would talk to the instructors, they would talk to the people who are actually exercising there, and so on. So that way they would get a first hand experience of what is happening there. So this is how we do walks. Then one day there was a time when um, we were walking and we saw some place where you have these bichayat kendras. So bichayat kendra is, for those of you who don't know, it's is a place which gives the material for conducting like mass celebrations like weddings and so on. So you have the big utensils and the carpets and the roof, the shamiana and so on. So we saw Bichayat Kendra and we walked in and we spoke to the person, and the person turned out to be quite bitter. He regretted the decisions, not decisions, but the position that he was in. And he very elaborately explained why do children need to study, otherwise they'll end up like me, so to speak. And so on. So basically, it was not a very tasteful experience for the children. And so it is very important that after these walks are done, there is a sit down and discussion following um, the walk. And during that discussion, we spoke about how they were feeling about it, what do they think about it, and so on. So some of the children themselves realized that he was feeling a lot of regret. The shop owner, the Bichayat Kendra person, was feeling a lot of regret for what he has done or not done in his life. So these kind of experiences are also important because this is how children learn how society is driven by things that we do not see. There are a lot of sentiments that drive society, and we generally ignore that, and hence we bear the brunt of it quite often. So this is how they learned that aspect. Then we have open discussions. So I personally take up quite a few of open discussions with them. So we began with things like fear. So what does it mean to feel afraid and so on. So in the beginning, most of them were like, no, I'm not afraid of anything and so on. And we see the gender diversity also. Like girls will usually be mature and admit what they are afraid of, and boys will have a really tough time doing that. So somewhere subliminally, we also learnt about gender bias through this. But the objective was fear. We discussed how we feel afraid of animals sometimes. Animals feel afraid of us most of the times, and then how does fear influence us? Then is there a way to get rid of fear? Is there a way to manage fear? So all these things we discussed. Then after that, somewhere, so this we were doing through a reading of text by Krishnamurti. So I don't remember the exact title of the book, but it's from a series called Krishnamurti for Kids. So if you search for this, I'm sure you'll find the text very interesting. They are small books, and they have a few. Um, so it's reading and then a small box of discussion, and then again reading, again discussion. So that is what we began with, and somewhere I grew to understand that. Most of them have reached that perspective where they don't need to, or rather they feel this compelling need to discuss something that is not pre-decided. So then we moved on to open discussions, and in open discussions we discussed everything from dogs to music to um, various genres of music. So we discussed people like Vishwa Mohan Bhatt. We discussed Mark Knopfler. So we discussed from classical Indian classical music to blues. We discussed country. We discussed Bob Dylan because he had got the Nobel Prize at that time. So and since we discussed the Nobel Prize, sorry, Bob Dylan, we had to discuss the Nobel Prize also. What does Nobel Prize mean, and who else have got it so far? Any Indians, and so on. So these kind of open discussions also happen, which are very flexible and they are not really limited. Then we have those days. So usually we consider the days, these friendship day and um, environmental day and whatnot. So all these days we normally consider a little bit of a nuisance because um, it gives us the feeling that it doesn't matter what you do for the rest of the year as long as you celebrate it on this day. So but then at the same time we don't want the children to lose out on this. So we have a kind of a democratic assembly on where we again discuss on these days, and these days are not usually taken as days; they are taken as weeks or at least half a week. So, for example, when we had World Peace Day, so for World Peace, um, if children have never understood war, if children have never understood violence, true violence, then how will they understand peace? So we began with things like the World War, and before World War, we had to begin with the understanding of violence. Um, then we discussed World War. We discussed World War One, World War Two. We discussed the freedom struggle, and from this, they understood, like they had a general understanding of what not having peace feels like. And Through that, then we moved on to this discussion. If you have to contribute to the peace in the world, how would you do it? So, this is how the days are celebrated. Then we had a very interesting assembly called the Freedom versus Responsibility Assembly. So, this we did through art. Now, it is very difficult, just like peace, it is very difficult to understand the concept of freedom, right? Because understandably, everyone is born with freedom. So, it is like air. How can you help a child understand air without building the years and years of understanding of what wind is, what seasons is, what rain is, then bringing in the science to it, then doing that candle experiment where you burn the candle and then the water level in the glass rises. So we do all these things and then children get a general understanding of what air is like. So something that you are born with and something that is constantly present around you, we don't really understand it. So, freedom versus responsibility, this was not very easy for us to take up. Um, but then we had an idea. So, we took up three pieces of chart paper. In the first chart paper, we asked the children to come up and take up a drawing instrument. It can be a paintbrush, it can be a sketch pen, it can be a crayon, color pencil, whatever, and draw something on the chart paper. Like this, we did for all the children, and since they just had one chart paper, so the first child came and drew something quite significant, and then the next child came, drew something quite big on top of that, like superimposed on that, and then this went on, and the chart paper just got filled, and it looked very ugly because all the images were overlapping and nothing was very clear and so on, and the children saw it. So we asked them, we gave them a moment, you observe what is on the chart paper, and then we'll move ahead. Then we gave them another piece of chart paper where we drew grids. So each child had to select their grid. They had the freedom of choice, but that is all the freedom that they had. They chose the grid that they wanted to fill, and they chose the writing instrument or the art instrument, and they drew whatever they wanted to draw in that small grid. Now, this was visible and it looked okay, like it didn't look bad, it didn't look good. But then it's not something that satisfied the children, and they realized that they could do so much more, but they didn't or they couldn't because they had that limitation of a box. And then they went, then we picked up another chart paper, and in this chart paper now, um, it was again blank, first of all, and they were given that choice that they can draw whatever they like, but they just need to consider what is being drawn by the previous person. So if a certain child draws some weird line at some part of the page or the chart paper, then the next child who comes up has to look at it and then decide what to do. Nobody would tell the child what to do, but they just had to take a moment and take a look at what has been drawn before them. And gradually we saw a picture coming together. Like some child drew a square, so another child drew a triangle over it, turned it into a house. Another child understood that that house is not complete, so they drew another tiny rectangle and they made a door for the house. Somebody else drew some weird Texas-like shape next to the house, and another child interpreted it as a lake and drew a swan over it. Crane, I think it was crane over it, and then another child drew just two lines, and the next one turned it into a tree. So, like that, a big chart paper was filled with a single image, but it was collectively made. So this is what we use to help them understand freedom and responsibility. um, so this was one kind of an assembly. Then we had the topic of environmental impact of us as human beings. So um, so again, it is something that is not very relatable to children, especially when they are starting it. They do understand things that are wrong. They do understand things that are ethical and unethical, but they don't understand the impact. So they don't understand the power that they have. They don't understand the impact that they can make or create. So we picked up the topic of environmental education through Greta Thunberg. So Greta Thunberg, if you must be knowing, she started this venture of Fridays for Future. So does anyone know about Greta Thunberg?
Yeah, Greta Thunberg was a climate activist related to environment, the youngest one to uh, make her voice sound to everyone clear in the world that yes, we should, as an adult, also be concerned about what is going in our world and how we are affecting our climate and earth by our degrading and disruptive activities, which is hampering us. Greta Thunberg, a child.
Yeah. So as a child activist, her first step was not to talk to the adults at all. So in the beginning, what she decided was she is just target children and she will talk to only children because she was considered as a child. So she will talk to children first. So she made quite a few children, quite the youth realize that if you are not going to do anything, then nothing is going to happen. It's as simple as that, flat out simple. So if there has to be a change, it has to be from you. So that was the first thing that she did. The moment she declared that, people across the world started holding these Fridays for Future strikes with a very clear message. If we do not act now, then there will be no future. And if there is no future, what is the point in preparing for that future? Why should we go to school? So every Friday, they would sit in front of prominent government offices like some town hall or some commissioner's office or major government offices. So this was happening in cities across the world. And by the end of it, I think she had approached more than 14,000 schools and so many countries, like 100 countries or something like that. And she grabbed a lot of attention. Now, whether or not her method was effective or whether or not it was right, wrong, ethical, unethical, that is a debate for later on. Um Even that debate needs to be had with the children. But then it helps them understand that if a 12-year-old, if a 15-year-old can do something like this, we are not very far behind. We are like fourth to eighth, so that is like already 11 years old by the time you reach eighth standard. So 11, 12 years old, and that age group. So they are already in that age group. So then why do we think that we are helpless? So this was one discussion. This discussion was extended by helping them um, understand through songs what is going on. This was understood by holding tree plantation initiatives and um, also cleanup drives. They were made aware of the organizations that are trying to do something about it. So this our school Nivam is in Amravati. So they were made aware of all the organizations in Amravati who are doing something like this. Um, how to join them. They were given the contact details of them. And quite a few children, as well as teachers, also went for these drives, these cleanup drives, and so on. So some of them have made it a regular Sunday ritual. Every Sunday they would go and with this organization and pick up trash from lakes and streets and wherever. Um, they would also paint schools and so on. So these kind of things were shared with them to help them understand that no age is too less to try and make a change, to try and make a difference. And then they were given a time to reflect and think about ways they can form initiatives, they can form a plan to execute those initiatives. And what would the initiative look like what would it be before, and what would they do, and what would be the effect later on, like visual effect, what would be seen later on. So these kind of things were done. One of the children decided that there's one major dustbin in front of our house, and people keep putting things around it. We have this tendency that if things are too high for us, we just keep it somewhere around. So quite a few people would not put the trash inside the dustbin; they would just leave it around. And then there would be dogs who would open it up and eat it and eat whatever they can, and then with the wind and all, it would make the entire area smell and make it dirty. Then there is another area where there is a channel, like a water channel, and people um, go there to throw their garbage almost every morning, even with all the Swachh Bharat vehicles and all. So probably they get late putting their trash in, so then they put it here. So these kind of things the children observed, and they worked out a strategy on how to deal with that. In some cases, it was very simple. Um, so normally, don't adults will back answer if we as adults tell them what they are doing is wrong. But to children, they may not be able to answer. So a few children understood that, and they did that. They tried it out, and they felt okay, this is something that they can do with as an initiative, as a plan. So they developed a strategy for it. They painted in that area that this is not a place where you throw your trash and so on. And gradually there was a change. The child who noticed the big dustbin in front of her house, the dustbin was lifted away, it was put somewhere else. Um in terms of the channel, things were getting better, but then we didn't get enough time to work on that. So um, when the child realizes that they are capable of doing all these things, then they do it. And in our current society, the conversations that we have with children generally, um, they don't get that feeling. They don't understand that understand the impact that they are capable of. So this is these are some of the discussions that we have. Now it is two things. No, sorry, three things are very important here. One is the physical orientation of the conversation. So if this is a discussion, how are you having it? Are you having it with the teacher in the front, or are you having it in a circle, in a semicircle? So can you try to visualize this and share what it would feel like to be a part of a discussion circle, and what would it feel like to be a part of the audience? How open would you feel to contribute in either case, and what kind of contributions would you give out in either case? So just take a moment. If you would like to close your eyes, visualize yourself in that space, with you as a part of the circle, or with you as a part of the audience, with somebody else just talking. And what kind of things would go on in your mind in either case, and what you would say.
So that physical orientation of conversation, as you said. So in the first scenario, in which one speaker is there and others are sitting, in that case, of course, what I feel always when I was in school, I was in college or university, is like, oh, acha, fir se aa gaya, we have to listen again. ठीक है. Genuinely, I feel it. Genuinely. Later, if that speaker is very nice and he's interacting with us, so very good. Conversation changed. But at starting, it is like, yeah, okay, now we have to listen again. At the end of the his lecture or his speaking, he will be asking how you felt. Now share your points, and one of us will go and share. So it's like this. Energy pura low from
Hmm.
starting itself. Okay, but it's kind of serious feeling. It's like a classroom wali feeling. Ki a teacher came and we are ready to now uh, get into our head कि हाँ अब सारी चीज जाना चाहिए भाई, it is important. It's like that what I feel, huh? And the next scenario in which you said ki हाँ like a circle and a group, so it sounds like हाँ we are in a picnic mood, where we'll share our thoughts, and the one who is there to of course guide us, the leader one, is there, but you can also share. You there is a kind of situation or surrounding in which you are feeling friendly and open to speak up. It's not like feeling like a classroom thing ki yes हाँ अब कोई आया and we have to listen, and you can't even drink water, you can't even of course there is a rules we should follow during any discussion or something, but it should not be like ki we are in a attention position and you can't. And उसमें क्या है कि बच्चे are feeling better in showing or in putting their points compared to that the first situation. So that's what I think is.
Right. So that is. So anyone would like to add to that? Okay. So yeah. Now think about it like this: in the general situation. Okay. Yeah. One input has come in. As an audience, I would feel more talked to or being told what to do, not so much sharing, and I would want to only. Sound correct and please the speaker. In a circle, it is more relaxed and more equal and more intimate. Yes. So think about it like this: wherever um, there is this speaker and audience kind of a scenario, there is an artificially imposed order. You know the order and chaos thing. So there's an artificially imposed order. But if it is a circle, it's a natural order because human beings, we are a social species. If we are a social species, then obviously we would find it more natural to interact, right? So if we want to interact, and if we are put in an orientation where interaction is minimal or interaction is avoided. So, first of all, you go into that mob mentality that whatever is in front of you is what you have to listen to, where you're obliged to listen to that person or the speaker. And the other thing that happens is that you you connect with that speaker on a very superficial level. You listen to things that may bring about some or incite some emotional response in you, so reactions basically. The rest of it is lost, and this is something very very typical of um, any political gatherings, then any religious gatherings, then schools, especially schools. So wherever you have this kind of a scenario, you respond to things that bring out an emotional response within you, and you tend to lose out on the details, the meaning behind it. And because of this, we see in every religion we have at least a few people who are extremists. We have a few people who take it to the next level and try to um, Yeah, so I was just saying that we in every religion we have a few people who turn into extremists, who use whatever they are feeling, whatever feelings are being ignited inside them, as a means to um, help propagate their understanding of religion, which is lacking, which is heavily lacking because of that orientation, because of that lack of communication and lack of discussion. So this is how that works. And the other way it works, as I said, it creates a mob mentality. So in a mob mentality, people sitting in front have to listen to the speaker. They feel that is their purpose there. And the moment that becomes their purpose in that area at that time, naturally they lose out on their individuality. And if this is done on a regular basis, that individuality starts crippling, it starts withering, and by the end of it you turn into somebody who just listens to other people, who just follows orders, not even listens, just follows orders. So if somebody tells you this is what you are supposed to do, then you will do that. And if nobody tells you anything to do, then you will just sit and do nothing. So most of our classes, most of our assemblies, most of our schools, this is what we do. The children are always sitting in that audience format. So we need to break out of that audience format if we want significant input, if we want significant um, insights from the children. So physical orientation matters a lot. Then another point is the research. So for research, again, as I said, most of the media that we see nowadays is biased. It's either on this side or on that side. And especially the news, which is supposed to be meant to be a sacred means of sharing, but that has been compromised and corrupted since quite a few decades. So, no, actually, not quite a few decades, maybe just 2 decades, whatever. So, this news getting corrupted is a big problem. Because of this, that corruption has uh, spread to all the other forms of media, and through that there was a recent video on how land mass is also calculated for maps. So if you check out the atlas, the way the land masses have been arranged is actually not the way how they are not size appropriate. It is shown as if all the the white places like US and UK and so on, they are shown bigger. Europe is shown bigger, and then when you see Greenland is also very big and so on. But then when you see the corrected version of it, things change. Things completely change. So the spread between north and south hemispheres changes, and then the distance between the land masses changes, the size of the land masses changes. So it's a very interesting thing. You can search for that on YouTube. You might find it. Um, so these kind of things. So we have to be very careful on what we are researching and how we are researching. Just the way we try to develop critical thinking in the children, we need to exercise critical thinking while we are collecting our research material. That being said, we should not limit the natural direction in which the research is going. So for example, if you are discussing pollution, and maybe last year you have discussed cloth, so that does not mean that you can leave out cloth this time. Use it. So you can see how the clothing industry is contributing to pollution. We came to know that the clothing industry causes approximately 25% of the global pollution. So that is a big realization. That is not something that children would be aware of naturally. unless and until they research it, and those opportunities of research are getting slimmer and slimmer. So um, we can provide them these opportunities through these assemblies and so on. So we need to do a lot of research on what we are going to discuss, unless it is an open-ended discussion, in which case then that research is something that you should have been doing your entire life. So then those conversations will pop up when you do the sharing during natural discussions. Um, so research is very important, and yeah, and the third one is bringing in the children. So um, how do you get the children's perspective in the conversation? How do you get the children to start thinking and start expressing? So that is also very important to think about. So one way I see this happening is through activities. So in World Peace Day, they had to write down how they would increase the peace in the world or contribute to the peace in the world. And then this chit or this slip that they had written down, that was pasted on this paper where we had made a good big artwork of World Peace Day, and then it was arranged in a certain pattern and all that. So it was a contribution. Then another one, so we had very elaborate annual days. So if you just check for NIVAM annual days on YouTube, you'll find all of them. We usually upload them so that people have easy access to it whenever they want to find out, whenever they want to have some ideas and so on. So for one of the annual days, we discussed the women's right, because the annual day topic was Mary Poppins, and Mary Poppins had this song on the suffragette movement. So suffragette movement is the voting rights of I'm not sure whether it was European women or English women, one of them. Um, so women did not have voting rights. So then through that movement, they got those voting rights for women. So we discussed about gender bias and inequality, and we did it through this activity where we put in a lot of jobs, like carpenter, makeup artist, hairstylist, doctor, engineer, and a whole bunch of firefighter, these kind of uh, jobs. And then children had to pick up a certain colored star. The color signifies the gender, and they had to put it on, say, two of these professions, according to what they feel is the correct gender for that profession. So we started doing this, and somewhere they realized that some children are putting stars where the other children wouldn't have expected them to be. So, for example, one child, say, puts up a star of a man for makeup artist. That is not something that the other child can digest or relate to naturally. Not naturally, according to the conditioning that has gone in. So they see another child doing that and another child doing that, and then gradually they see that all the professions are like that. You can have women as firefighters. You can have women as doctors and engineers. You can have men as chefs, cooks. So that barrier between genders and gender bias starts getting dissolved, and this is how they start getting that courage that thinking different is respected and thinking different is allowed, so to speak. And whenever they do think different, they should not feel afraid to express it, to share it. So this is how we worked on bringing in the opinions on of the children. So yeah, so these are the points that I had in mind that I wanted to share. and we are open for questions now. So if anyone has any questions, you can ask them. If you have any topic in mind and if you feel that you need a little bit of help on how to research that topic, also you can ask that. So that is also something that I do. If any teachers or schools have any issues discussing certain topics, so then I help them out by pointing pointing to the right resources for it. So other than that, thank you very much, and um, yeah, see you all next Sunday.
So shit, man. Sorry, I got disconnected. Can you please repeat what you just said?
Yeah, we saw the video of you hurrying around. Okay, so we are done with the with what I wanted to say. Whatever we have learned in our school and what we are sharing with quite a few other schools also. Um, but we are open for discussion. So if you have any questions, specific questions, also you can ask them.